Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our introduction to our new strategy, Invest in Her Power. I'm Rebecca Abbey. I oversee communications here at Grameen Foundation. I'm going to turn it over to Amelia to kick us off.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. It's great to be with you today. Thanks everyone for joining our webinar. We're really excited to share our strategy, which spans from 2025 to 2029. As Rebecca mentioned, our new strategy is called Invest in Her Power, which is positioned from the perspective that we have to change the system and not the woman. We intentionally decided to end our strategy in 2029 because starting in 2030, which is the end of our shared United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we know that in 2031, we will start with a new beginning in which we're going to adapt our strategy to new global goals. I'm very pleasantly joined by our President and CEO, Zubeida Bai, and Alfred Riaboa, our Director of Global Program Operations. I'm Amelia Kuklevitz. I'm our Vice President for Programs. Grameen Foundation is well positioned at the intersection of financial inclusion, gender, and climate to end poverty and hunger by transforming systems for women. By strengthening the economic power of women, we will strengthen families, communities, and economies. For us here at Grameen, alone was just the beginning. We're now celebrating 27 years at Grameen Foundation and our vision to end poverty in our lifetime. Now, we started our first 10 years focusing on Dr. Muhammad Yunus's vision to take microfinance globally and turn it into a household name. We spread the methodology across the globe and we consider this mission complete. The next 10 years, we transformed and successfully utilized technology to increase our impact, and we expanded our mission by merging with Freedom from Hunger in 2016. Together with our supporters and partners, we are honored to have impacted over 25 million lives since our work began. We are incredibly proud of this achievement and for our role in making microfinance a global norm. But despite all the progress that we've made, we continue to see barriers that limit the potential of women, because even today, nearly 1 billion women remain excluded from the systems that govern our lives. We are now focused on creating pathways of success for women to go beyond access to capital, because as I mentioned, access to a loan was just the beginning. I'm happily pass on to Zubeida, who will give us a little more information and time for action.
Thank you, Amelia. So now is the time for action, as Amelia mentioned, and I'd like to ask you to imagine what I mean by some of the barriers that women face. Imagine this: a woman in rural Uganda is in her fields every day working for hours. She works in her household doing the daily chores and maintenance needed for the upkeep of her household. She walks miles every week to collect water, and she wants to sell some of her crops and imagines starting a small business. She does not have a bank account and does not have access to credit either. But one day she hears about an opportunity to open a bank account on her phone. She's suddenly able to buy equipment and supplies instantly from her phone and is able to start selling to her community. She begins to save for her children's education and her business starts to grow. But what happens when her husband decides that he wants this income for himself, and he also feels a little threatened by her newfound economic independence? What happens to her business when she wants to grow and has no financial provider who's willing to work with her? And even if they do decide to work with her, they will only do so at a 40% interest rate. What happens when she can't access education or training to move her business to the next level? Our strategy is not about giving someone just a loan. It's about opening doors that have been shut for centuries. Our strategy not only builds the holistic resilience that women need to combat social injustice, climate change, and to grow their businesses, but also provides a path needed by them to connect the power of women with the world. The truth is that we need to strengthen the economic power of women to solve some of our greatest problems. It has become clear that the systems that govern our lives, from finance to agriculture to health, are all not built for women. At the current rates, the World Economic Forum estimates that it will take about 128 years to achieve full gender parity. But if we can bridge that gender gap, it will contribute $28 trillion to the global GDP within 1 year, an amount that will end poverty in our lifetime. Our strategy recognizes the power of women and recognizes the world needs this power if we are to thrive as a society and a planet. We really want to make sure that women are not excluded from the system, and our solution is to transform systems for women by utilizing our innovative HER framework, the root of our new strategy. At an individual level, the HER framework, that stands for Holistic Enhanced Resilience, will enable a woman to increase her agency and income while developing a long-term holistic resilience against poverty and the threats that she will face. At a global level, the HER framework will provide women with a world where their families are strengthened, their communities and economies are strong as well. The HER framework will propel progress towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals and boldly reach 10 million women in the next 5 years. Women need more than access to just capital to exit poverty forever. They need programming that's culturally appropriate and tailored to their needs. They need a support system that reaches her at every stage, from her home to her business to her community and ultimately to her local economy. And the HER framework does exactly that. The framework leads to 3 outcome areas for individuals: increased income, increased agency, and increased resilience. So what is the Holistic Enhanced Resilience, or the HER framework? We built our solutions on 5 pillars. The first part is mobilizing local actors, identifying local agents, financial partners, and everything else that is needed so that we can begin bottom up as a grassroots approach to start with the right partners in the right place. Our second step is to work at the household level to ensure that the male spouses become sparks for change that strengthen the economic power of women and their families. The third vertical is where we are leveraging education, technology, climate-smart agriculture, and the training needed to ensure that she has the skills needed to grow and launch a business. The fourth vertical builds on our history of access to financial services and our robust network of partners who provide capital. An important piece of this vertical is reducing interest rates or removing the perception that women are riskier investments. The last vertical is where we work with the local market and ensure that the network around her is ready to see her as an equal and as a solution to strengthening the economic power of the local economy. Ultimately, the HER framework will reach women at home and in their communities. It will strengthen families while increasing the economic power and resilience of women. The framework is rooted in local needs, is supported by global evidence, and is expanded through technology, all leading to growing economies. To that effect, we believe that women have always been seen as the last person at the last mile, and that is where our work starts, with the belief that the last mile is her first mile. We want to change the perspective that women should not be the last recipients of support. Women are at the center of everything that we do, and the power of women provides solutions to the world's greatest problems. Hence, our strategy focuses on 3 signature programs that have the potential for urgent change. The first program is called Accelerate, catered to serve young women ages 15 to 24. The second is called Together We Grow, focused on smallholder farmers. And the third is called Invest Her, for women entrepreneurs. In addition to these signature programs that work from bottom up, we are utilizing 4 catalytic initiatives that will cascade down from a global level. The first one is called Program Safe, to end financial abuse. The second builds on female agent networks to scale our impact. The third is the GATE Innovation Lab that ensures fast-paced technology and does not ignore the rural women in those areas. Additionally, our globally connected network of volunteers, Bankers Without Borders, will continue to bridge the gap between professional skills and volunteerism. Our programs and initiatives position us perfectly at the intersection of financial inclusion, gender, and climate change. Taking a deep dive into what financial abuse actually means and what does Program SAFE want to achieve. Financial abuse is a pervasive and insidious form of exploitation that affects millions of individuals worldwide, particularly women, seniors, and the strategically undervalued communities. It encompasses a range of behaviors that include controlling finances, exploiting assets, and restricting access to resources, all of which have devastating and lifelong consequences for the survivors. Recognizing the urgent need to address this critical issue, Grameen Foundation is taking a bold stand with Program SAFE. This comprehensive initiative raises awareness, provides support services, and builds a global coalition to safeguard against financial abuse in all its forms. Moving forward to the GATE Lab that focuses on gender, AI, and technology to address the critical gaps that prevent women from fully participating in and benefiting from the digital economy, while acknowledging and working against the digital information that lacks data on the world's poor, especially women. By aligning these three areas, the lab will ensure that innovations are inclusive, ethical, and impactful, partnering with women to drive systemic change and enabling them to thrive in an increasingly technology-driven world. Moving into our three signature programs that are grassroots. The first one is Accelerate for young women ages 15 to 24, where we will focus on building viable livelihoods through employable skills, entrepreneurship training, or in some cases, also of them becoming mobile money agents, while getting access to healthcare. Young women often are denied the agency needed to make choices about their health and family planning decisions. By increasing their agency, financial literacy, and access to technology and healthcare, we are increasing the chances to thrive. One cornerstone of Accelerate is the opportunity to become a mobile money agent. We've seen great success with our agent programs for women, where within 4 months, these agents move past the poverty line. Moving on to the next program, Invest Her, that focuses on entrepreneurs. Invest Her addresses the root cause of what is holding women back from being a successful entrepreneur. The HER framework ensures that there is a local network in place, that her household is strengthened through power dynamics training, and that she has the access to technology, education, and finance. An important piece of this is reduction of interest rates from around 40% to sometimes down to 10%. A necessary step in removing the perception that women are risky investments, because we know that women are not riskier investments and they have a repayment rate of 99%. Supporting entrepreneurs by lowering their interest rates will continue to long-term community change. The last program that we focus on from a grassroots perspective is Together We Grow, focused on smallholder farmers, supporting women in agriculture. The HER framework ensures that these farmers are trained in climate-smart practices. They're included in local economies and have a diversified income source with increasing access to their technology inputs. This will build on our success in India, where we've increased farmer representation in farmer producer organizations that we help form by 122%. Each of these signature programs will build on itself and scale quickly. Now, let me pass this on to Alfred to explain more about our Exploring Power Dynamics program.
Thank you very much, Zubeda, for the overview of Grameen Foundation strategy and then the holistic enhanced framework, which is clearly built on 5 pillars. The second step of this tried and tested 5-part resilient framework is the reconfiguring power at home and in the communities where we work with various national partners. One very important vehicle Grameen and our partners use to de-risk women at a personal level is our power toolkits. The modules in this toolkit, which includes community-level gender dialogues and our exploring power dynamics and unconscious bias training, is carefully crafted to get our partners and communities to understand power, analyze power, manage power, deconstruct harmful power, shifts and share power, and finally build power. Our Exploring Power Dynamics training is an interactive workshop that leads staff and partners, including our local private sector service providers, through internal and personal reflection about how harmful gender and social norms play out along intersectional differences in the workplace, at home, and in the community. The intra-household dialogues, on the other hand, includes facilitation of dialogues with couples in small groups on topics that relate to gender norms or dynamics that impede women's full economic participation, and engage male partners and family members as allies of women's rights and businesses. These dialogues provide a safe space for women entrepreneurs, their spouses, male and female community leaders, religious leaders, and other opinion leaders to collectively explore through positive masculinity principles. By collectively identifying levers of change and rewiring thinking around shifting and sharing power through these dialogues, we are seeing how men and other community stakeholders appreciate the full extent to which traditional gender norms and gender-based violence affect women's ability to start and grow successful businesses, and importantly, also participate in income generation activities, and also understand how these gender-based violence affect women entrepreneurs and can often be an unintended consequence of economic strengthening activities. And importantly, again, how men and women work as allies to overcome these challenges to economic strengthening initiatives together. Just to emphasize the point that the Exploring Power Dynamics and Unconscious Bias training and community-level gender dialogues are a crucial part of our systems change approach. This is because the Power Toolkit is contributing to ensuring that ecosystem partners fully account for the gender and social norms that hinder women's access to achieving success in terms of increasing their incomes, having the voice and agency, and building their resilience. Please allow me to talk about a campaign we have ongoing in Ghana and Nigeria. Grameen is working with our national partners to reconfigure power and strengthen families by tackling deeper, more systemic issues. This we are doing through the Sparks for Change initiative. We are on a journey to cultivate more than 20,000 men allies through locally led and framed dialogues. The men are uniquely placed and positioned to positively influence other men and their male children to be more supportive of the businesses of their spouses. How are we building a foundation for long-term change with this approach? Facilitators of the dialogues are trained to respect cultural norms and local context in mapping out gender issues, both useful norms and the harmful ones, by asking what can be done differently. The selected community members are well respected and they have some level of trust already with the community and the men groups, making our approach very sustainable. The dialogues also consider how things are interdependent. So we consider even couples in polygamous marriages. We also consider the ages of the participants, their socioeconomic status, and other identity markers. Even in some cases, we have dealt with some of the wrong use of wording from the Quran or the Bible to justify some of these harmful gender norms. So we have had cases where Muslim clerics have been part of these dialogues and have had the opportunity to correct some of these, quotations picked from these scriptures basically out of context, and correct them. Again, the dialogues are carefully framed in such a way that it does not see men as a problem, but rather as allies in the change process. The dialogues create supportive environment for men and also build on aligned network so that men can support each other. And it also deals with the fear of men when it comes to dealing with their own vulnerabilities. The dialogues, again, as I said, are also framed in such a way that we are looking at how men and their spouses can walk away from the sessions with an action plan that they themselves have agreed to, and also have agreed with the facilitator to follow up to see how well they are adopting the practices that they themselves voluntarily agreed to. One point I would want to make is that these dialogues are not standalone activities. Rather, they seamlessly tie into other economic strengthening and financial inclusion programs that Grameen implements with the support of our ecosystem partners. This holistic approach leads to improved agency of women to access and use financial services for enterprise growth without fear of negative backlash from the men. So we are even looking beyond physical and emotional abuse to address financial abuse, for instance, through the SAFE initiative that Zubeida talked about. As I always say, these gender dialogues coupled with other financial inclusion initiatives is unique in the sense that the power of change, the power for the couples to basically change a course of action at the household or even at the community level is in the hands of the couple. In fact, they make their own decisions guided through the dialogues by alternating between small daily decisions and larger stories of change by navigating their own context. By the end of the gender dialogues, couples develop their own action plans, as I mentioned, describing simple activities they can take, as well as a set of goals that support women in their local communities, and how to overcome the barriers that they face in increasing their income. The community-based facilitator agrees with the couples when they should follow up with them to check on how well they are doing with their action plans. Through a process known as adoption observation, the facilitators jointly assess adoption of the couple's goals, and in some cases put in place remedial action to get them on track. We have seen most couples start with the low-hanging fruits, like setting up an emergency fund, compared to dialogues around uncomfortable topics around breaking down gender norms and social norms to arrive at mutual decision-making on childcare, domestic work, or even support for women enterprises that ultimately lessens the pressure of men on us, the sole providers or breadwinners for their households. So I would end by saying that by inspiring our men to be sparks for change, who champion women's income growth, agency, and resilience, we are seeing that families are stronger. And when this happens, communities and economies are also stronger. Over to you, Zubeida, for your concluding comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. As you can see, our strategy is not just a collection of goals and objectives. Instead, it provides the pathway needed to end poverty and hunger within our lifetimes. By increasing the holistic resilience and economic power of women, we make it possible for families to be strengthened, for communities and economies to benefit. Our strategy is a blueprint for reaching women in need and developing sustainable benefits for generations to come. I hope you'll all join us in investing in the power of women. Thank you.